Hello, welcome to another video about interactive narratives, and in this video I'm going to do something a little bit different and use an emulator. I'm really sorry, I know that's not a cool thing to do, but it's really difficult to capture Nintendo DS games in any other way, so I'm using an emulator just to be able to show you this game, which is one of my favorite, definitely one of my favorite DS games, and actually one of my favorite games of all time, and it's called Valkyrie Profile Covenant of the Plume. It's a game published by Square Enix, as you can see on the screen, and it is a Japanese turn-based role-playing game, and it is fantastic. It's loosely based on, or kind of a spin-off of the Valkyrie Profile series, which originally started on the PlayStation, published by Enix, and it follows the kind of Ragnarok mythology. So one of the main characters is the Valkyrie, who is this goddess character who you can see now in this cutscene, who comes down and takes the souls or the spirits of vanquished soldiers or dead soldiers, and she whisks them away to Asgard, I think it is, and there the soldiers will await Ragnarok, the kind of end of the world, and the soldiers who have been taken up to heaven will fight for the gods, basically. So within this mythology, dead soldiers become immortalized in a way, which is kind of a cool premise for a game. And where you pick up is you play as a character called Wilfred, or Will, and we learn actually. So you'll see him in this cutscene. He's the guy with the white hair. Oh, and the emulator is really struggling, so we'll just skip forward a little bit. So you play as Will, and we learn that Will's father was killed in battle, and because of this his family becomes very poor, and his sister starves to death, his younger sister, and because of all of this he vows to get revenge on the Valkyrie. So he says, like, you took my father from me, I will get my revenge, I will kill you. And this is where we start to play the game. So he goes on this quest to kill the Valkyrie. And because of this pledge that he makes, this covenant, he joins up with a kind of evil goddess called Hel, H-E-L, and she's kind of the villain of the game, really. He joins up with her, and what she wants the souls of the dead. She wants you to kind of cause chaos and eventually to kill the Valkyrie. And through this covenant, we are introduced to one of the main gameplay mechanics of this game. And this is where I wanted to talk to you about choice and moral choice in games. And I think the choices you get to make in this one are real doozies. So this is what the game looks like. It's a turn-based strategy game. It's very, very difficult, and it's difficult on purpose, and I'll show you why in just a second. So I'll play as this sorcerer character, and this dude, who I'm playing as at the moment, is the father of this character here, this girl. So we meet them earlier on. He was trying to hunt her down, and she was running from him. They were in this group of assassins, and she'd fled the assassins. So we learn a little bit about their backstory, and we learn that they're this broken family. Their mother has died. The father, desperate for work, had to join this group of assassins, and she fled the assassins, and because of that he had to chase her down and either capture her or kill her, but of course he couldn't kill her because she's his daughter. So we learn about this backstory. So we know a little bit about these characters. This dude, I'm not too sure who he is, but anyway, this sorcerer will attack this flying fish thing, and you'll get a sense of how kind of powerless I am, hopefully. So let's just launch a fireball at this thing. Okay, so it didn't take off that much damage, so he's pretty weak. And this is where the game really encourages you to make quite a painful choice. So what you can do as Will is use the plume of the Covenant to unlock the potential of one of your allies, and they have to be allies. They have to be people that you've learnt about, that have joined your team, and so by this stage you know who they are, you know their backstory, you know what they're all about, you know their relationships to the other characters in your group. So I will do this on this female character here. I can't remember her name. Chirifa, I think is her name. So remember, this is the father and daughter team, and I'm going to do this. Enact the covenant of the Plume. When I do this, Will gains their abilities, but here comes the moral choice. So the power unlocked by darkness will claim its vessel's life at battle's end. So what is going to happen is, for this round, for this battle, she'll become immensely powerful, crazy powerful, basically immortal. She'll gain all of this power, but at the end of this stage, at the end of this battle, she'll be sacrificed. She'll die, like permanently, permadeath. So it's pretty intense. So I'm going to do this and show you how powerful she gets.
Feather o'er the battlefield. Unto me thy power yield.
Sorry about the crackly audio. So here we go. Now she's just supercharged and awesome.
Something is happening to me.
Okay, so she's just said something is happening to me. So she's aware of this new power that she has. And watch as she totally destroys this flying fish.
This difficult.
Pow, 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 pow. Totally destroyed him. So this way you can easily clear this level. It's a real breeze. But the thing is, don't forget that at the end of the level, she has to die, right? And this is what that looks like. So I've just defeated the level's boss, the really intense final character. Kind of sadly, it was a father and daughter duo that I used to kill the final character. And then this happens. I win. That's awesome. Aelith is the servant of the demon goddess. She says, "This is great. You're doing really well. Here are some gifts. Go for gold. You're the best. But don't forget that sacrifice I made." And poor Chirifa says, "What is happening? My body, it won't move." And her father is right there, and he's saying, "Tell me, child, what is it? What's going on?" And she says, I think I'm dying. Father, help me. Father." He screams out her name. She says, "Father." And she dies. So, what the game has done is it's encouraged me to make this choice, this moral choice, right? To sacrifice one of my own team members whose story I know, whose character I'm aware of, who actually has quite a very emotional kind of bond with your character and also with her father, so we know all of this stuff. But I've chosen to sacrifice her to help me progress through the game. So there are benefits to that sacrifice, but do those benefits outweigh the fact that I have to basically kill her? And there are other little touches to this that make it even more tragic, is that as she's kicking ass through the battlefield, once I've done that Covenant of the Plume thing and she becomes super powerful, she continues to level up, if that's applicable. If she has enough experience points, she'll level up as she kills people. But of course we know that leveling up is futile, right? Like, it just reminds us like of how powerful and cool she is, and I wish I got to keep her for the next level. But no, we realize that she's going to die, that this is the last we'll see of her. And the way the game pans out is that there are 3 possible endings. The best ending is if you don't sacrifice anyone, so it's kind of a choice that you're not supposed to make, except there are some levels, my first playthrough of the game, where I just found it impossible not to use the Plume, where I found it impossible not to sacrifice a character and make them super powered. So you have to be really good and know exactly what you're doing to get the best ending, to not sacrifice any of your own people. If you sacrifice a few of them, you get the middle ending. If you sacrifice everyone, you get it's possible actually to lose the game or get a kind of dud ending. But even those not so flashy endings are still quite powerful, and I think to me were really tragic in a cool way. So anyway, this is just an example of moral choice in games that does actually have a real impact on the narrative, because there are 3 possible endings, but also the way that the game progresses, which characters will be there in the end, and that does actually kind of matter. But also the the way that the moral choice is a real choice that you have to make, right? It's not clear cut. It's not so simple. It's not just a case of right or wrong, because there are benefits to both choices. And actually, the way the game initially is set up is that you want to help Will get his revenge on the Valkyrie. So initially, you want to help him no matter what the cost to get his revenge. And then, of course, there's a twist at the end, basically, where you realize what's the true cost of vengeance, right? The Valkyrie is immortal regardless of what he does. So it's rad, it's cool. And I'm really curious to know what kind of moral choices you've encountered in games, and whether those choices have been clear-cut. Was it always clear that one option was right or wrong? Did the game reward you for certain choices that you made? Did it encourage evil or good, or in what ways did your choices impact the narrative as well? So keep these things in mind, and I think, just for my money, Valkyrie Profile Covenant of the Plume was just a real emotional journey for me. I found myself having to make some really tough choices where I was splitting apart families and sacrificing a friend, and then having the other friend live through it and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're dying on me, da 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 da. Just real intense stuff. And the way the story is told is beautiful. It's really nicely written, I thought. So check it out if you've got a DS. I think it's well worth your time. Just be aware that those moral choices are tough. That's us. Farewell.